Welcome to Anime Out of Context, a comedy review show where a man completely immersed in anime culture torments his co-host, who is only allowed to watch the shows featured here. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/animeoutofcontext. Alongside over 100 hours of exclusive bonus material, all episodes uploaded to Patreon are completely ad-free, even to non-patrons. Thank you for listening, and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to Anime Out of Context, the show where I attempt to explain the sometimes weird, sometimes wonderful, but always hilarious world of anime.
And Gyudon is my second favorite Pokemon.
I'm Shaun Rollins.
I'm Remington Chase.
Okay, Remington. I know you're actively dying, so I'm going to keep this nice, straightforward, and simple for you.
Fuck.
And if that wasn't proof enough...
For any non-patrons, patrons understood because of the unhinged pre-banter. But I've been awake for far too long.
Yep, and we're gonna wrap this up nice and quickly, but it's okay, because this is an easy one to explain, and it's...
Nice and easy, like me.
Okay, we really gotta double time this, don't we? Holy
shit.
This,
this is just max comedy, alright?
Max comedy is max sleep deprivation, is that what you're going for?
I think so.
Okay.
According to any teenage sleepover ever, I believe so. You know, just those moments where you all stay up like a bit later than you should, and you reach the point that like you're all trying to fall asleep, and then one person will like do one thing and you all lose your fucking minds.
Yes, the 3 a.m. drunk effect.
Yeah, it's that, but it's me, and I'm also all of the friends.
And I'm just here watching you descend into madness.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Well, Remington, this week, we're going to be watching something that, I quite enjoy.
Oh, okay, alright.
And it's a new anime this season, which, you know, that's a fun combination. Nice and topical.
Oh, nice and new. Look how relevant we are.
Yeah, and it was a manga I read prior to the anime being announced as well.
Alright, okay.
So I am quite prepared for this one. And you're probably going to be able to tell why I like it. Because, Rem, it's a fantasy.
Yep, that'll do it.
Yeah. And the premise is really straightforward.
It's going to be J.R.R. Tolkien's the waifu. That's the whole title.
J.R.R. Tolkien's The Waifu. Not Lord of the Waifu. Not a waifu's tale, just the waifu.
Yeah, it's like The Hobbit.
Yeah, I see.
But the waifu.
Hilariously,
look, if that existed, you would see it day one.
You're not wrong. You're look, I can't argue with that. But I will say there are halflings in this anime.
All right. Yep. I mean, fantasy makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you don't always see halflings in anime, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's usually primarily just elves. Lots of elves. Elves everywhere.
Yeah.
Oops, all elves. Which I'm not complaining about. I just like a little bit of variety. But this little fantasy anime is pretty straightforward, actually. It is a little anime about a group of adventurers who, it starts out with them fighting a big old red dragon in the deep depths of a massive dungeon.
Okay, yep.
Which, you know, nice and great start. But here's the problem, right? They fucked it. Not the dragon. They didn't fuck the dragon.
Oh, baby.
They fucked it up, rather. And made some mistakes and ended up being a bit too hungry for the fight, and had a near party wipe when their mage gets bitten and nearly eaten by the dragon, is able to send them back to the beginning, starting town using a clutch teleport spell, but unfortunately at the cost of her being fully om-nom-nommed by the big old dragon. And the story...
See, you said this was going to be simple, but we're starting off with, like, an intense start.
Yeah. Look, it starts off intense, but the whole overarching story is really straightforward, Rem. Because the story really begins after they get sent back, and the human of the party, Laios, is determined to go back in there and rescue her, because it's her sister. It's his sister, excuse me. Pronouns are hard sometimes.
Yeah.
And there is a resurrection mechanic in this setting. So people can die but be brought back. But here's the catch. They don't know if somebody can be brought back after they've been fully digested and turned into poop. So...
So they're trying to resurrect shit.
Well, they don't. They're trying to get down and rescue her before she becomes shit.
And then, unfortunately, then we end up with like a little Jurassic Park scenario, and it's real rough.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum is there. It's awkward.
When are we gonna watch the Jeff Goldblum anime, Shaun?
Oh god, I would watch the shit out of that. You kidding me? Just an anime, like a typical fantasy anime, but Jeff Goldblum just happens to be there.
I wanted to see what would happen if I typed in Goldblum anime, and they were just like, "Hey, have you heard of Captain Planet?"
Captain Planet is my favorite anime.
Yeah, so there you go. He does additional voices in Captain Planet.
Oh god. But alas, no Jeff Goldblum. He wants to go back and rush down. But here's the problem. Adventuring kind of costs money because you need supplies, party members, and most importantly, food. Here's the problem though. They got teleported out, but most of their shit did not. So it was very much an emergency, hey, get the lives out and worry about the stuff later type of situation. So
can they find like someone to give them a loan?
I'm sure they could, but that's not the solution that Laios comes up with.
See, it's probably what they should have come up with. Just find a little like hoggish Greedly and
and just
like,
go into deep debt to rescue his sister.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. No, he has a better solution. Which is the whole premise of the show. Since they have what gear they have currently on their bodies, his main plan is like, okay, with his remaining party members, like, hey, you sell all your shit, and I'll use the remaining money to go in alone and try and rescue her. But his party's like, nah, fam, we like her too. We want to help. And his revealed his grand plan is to forego buying any supplies whatsoever and just eat whatever he finds in the dungeon. Because, Remington, the anime we're watching today is simply titled Dungeon Meshi, or Delicious in Dungeon.
Oh, Jesus. A little verminous scumboy.
Yes. Because the whole premise is going on this big rescue mission, all the while eating various fantasy foods along the way, having a good time, and traumatizing the poor elf mage who really doesn't want to eat monsters, but cares enough about her friend that she's willing to try and put herself through it to go through it.
You go through, you loot and plunder, and then you find some grub, and it's all set.
Yeah, well, I mean, some grub can be literal because sometimes it'll be just eating straight up grubs. Whoopsie.
Some grubs, some sly sludge here and there, it's a little bit of ooze.
Yep. And they don't have to go at it alone. It starts out as a party of 3 because the rest of his original party fucking dipped after that.
Yeah.
So it starts off with Laios the human, Marcel the elf, so human fighter, elven mage, and then Chilchuck, the halfling rogue, I want to say, is probably the best way to define him. He deals with like traps and lockpicks and things like that. So rogue is pretty right. And they start their journey and start trying to make food out of scorpion and walking mushroom. And they're just fucking it. They just aren't doing a great job. When a lovely dwarf by the name of Senshi shows up and is like, "Oh, you're trying to make a hot pot, I see. Let me help you out." And joins the party and gives step-by-step instructions on how to prepare a giant scorpion and walking mushroom hot pot. And the whole story is just the 4 of them going deeper and deeper, going through adventures and just eating whatever they come across and having little cooking episodes about it. And it is...
I mean, it seems like it has some potential. Especially, look, compared to last week, I'm sure that this will have a higher mouse score than The Girl I Liked Forgot Her Glasses. So I'm a little bit hopeful.
Yeah, no, I can guarantee it definitely does. Just so you can adjust your barometer in the future. And I quite enjoy it. Like it's a comedy, right? First and foremost. But it's got a lot of that good anime food that we all like to watch, and it's just a bit of fun. And plus, watching Marcel suffer is pretty fucking entertaining in my book. I adore her. She's an adorable little elf girl. But she, She really doesn't want to eat monsters, and I find that fucking hilarious. Because elves. Haha.
Yeah.
Look, lately in anime, we've just been having some good elves. What with Freeren and whatnot. So we've got another one with Marcial. So yeah, that's the basic.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, basic premise. Hopefully you enjoy it. Senshi is a great dwarf. You can't see his mouth move at all, which is wonderful because of the big beard and helmet. And
Yeah.
Wonderful. So I think that's all we really need to discuss. So without further ado, Remington, let's go straight into it. Let's go watch some Dungeon Meshi. And we are back after watching the first 5 episodes of the hit 2024 anime Dungeon Meshi, or Delicious in Dungeon. And Remington, was it a nice fun little romp through a dungeon like I told you it was? Or do you have, like, some cold-hearted bastard response to my nice little comfy show that that I'm not anticipating?
Look, not every critique is cold-hearted bastard, all right?
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not. There's more of a spectrum there.
All right.
As I'm sure we'll explore like we always do.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I wanted to bring up, I had an interesting moment this past week,
Okay.
Shaun. I was I was a guest on Shaun and Flop. Shout out to the Shaun and Flop boys. I was on their podcast, all about, failed manga. And
yeah, which is hilarious because you never mentioned this to me until after you had done it.
oh yeah, I have my own life, Shaun. I'm doing my own things.
One of our close podcasting friends, and neither of the two of them were like, "Oh yeah, by the way, Remington's coming on an episode with us." It's like, oh, I see. Cool. Thanks, buddies.
Oh man.
I'm not saying that I needed to be on the episode or anything, but I just would have been like, "Oh shit, cool! One of my friends are collaborating. I can't wait to listen to the episode." That would have been nice.
It's the second time I've been on their podcast. It should be up within the month at some point. And it was also the second ever time that I had read any manga. But throughout the experience, we started talking about different anime and things. And David, one of the hosts of Shaun and Flop, recommended something he had recommended in the first the first episode we had recorded long time ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was Dungeon Meshi.
Yeah.
It was Dungeon Meshi. I had not yet watched the anime. The first time he recommended it, he was like, "This is a manga you will like." And this time he was like, "It's a manga. It's been adapted. Now it's being adapted, and you'll like it." And I was like, "That sounds familiar." As he was describing.
We had recorded days previously.
Yeah, we had recorded the part 1. This happened between part 1 and part 2 of this episode. And I was like, that sounds so familiar. Wait a minute. And then I was like, oh, great news, David. We're recording that right now. So, what we're going to see, David from Shaun and Flop, he thinks that I'm going to like this. The question is he correct? We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, because genuinely speaking, Rem, this anime, there's not a lot for you to heavily critique, I feel like, in terms of your normal anime complaints, right? Because it's a very simple show. It's a very simple show, but I feel like it's a simple show that handles its simplicity well.
See, Shaun, you say that, and because my brain is broken, like the little gremlin in my brain, when you say, oh, you probably won't be able to critique it in the normal ways, it's like, is that a fucking challenge? And it's like, I know that gremlin it's not a gremlin of rationality. It's
Please don't let it be a gremlin of rationality, Ram. Please.
And so I tend to shy away from that gremlin, but it's there. It is there. Nonetheless, let's jump into how I actually think about Dungeon Meshi and what even happens in it. We open up with some exposition all about this great mad magician at the core of this dungeon who, if anybody goes and defeats them, they become the king of the dungeon, just king of all of it.
Yep.
It's all theirs. And that's just not really relevant. That's like, oh, cool. All right.
It becomes relevant later, but that's just set dressing for now, Rem.
Yeah, very much so. It's like, we don't have a bunch of adventurers who are like, this is my duty and my vow. It's mostly like, it's cool if it ever happens. Anyway, right? It very much takes the background, which I can admire. We then jump into in media res in the middle of a battle with a dragon, just a standard adventuring party. A warrior dude, he's kind of out of it, and which really you should not be that's the worst time to just be daydreaming.
I mean, to be fair, though, they all had a good reason for being a little out of it, which was the premise of the series.
And so, because he's out of it, he has to get saved by his sister, who then gets eaten by a dragon. But teleports most of them away before that.
Basically everybody but her.
Yeah. There's also, like, apparently, like, a barbarian and a samurai. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
They quit immediately. It's fine.
yeah.
They come back later, don't worry, but, like, they just were like, fuck this noise, I'm out.
Yeah. So they get teleported out, which I'm in love with you. Yeah, you can't be daydreaming, bud. If your sister dies, kind of your fault.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And you should feel bad about it.
Hey, let me tell you, he does.
So they're like, all right, well, we have to head back in ASAP, resurrect her from poop, as you mentioned in part 1. That's the plan. They
hopefully before she becomes poop. Like that's a very important.
Yeah, before she becomes poop. And so they're on a bit of a race against time. But here we meet one of the first tonal inconsistencies of this show. That I think is both why it's popular, but also the tension is there. In this sense, it is extremely urgent. Oh fuck, we need to get to that sister before she gets digested. Otherwise, it's all over.
Right.
But then, arguably most of the time, the show has a very casual, nonchalant tone. It loses that urgency for most of what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, yeah, kick back a little bit, just enjoy yourself. Yeah, we'll get there when we get there, which is very strange.
Yes.
Very odd. And probably there's going to be a couple other like tonal inconsistencies that have pros and cons. This one, more or less just a con. It's more or less just a negative on this one. Because yeah, it's like, holy shit, we need to do this now. It's the equivalent of playing a video game, right? Like a big open world sprawling thing. And it's like, the villain has taken your love interest and will kill them any moment now. You better rush. And you're like, yeah, but I have like 4 more side quests I need to do in this area. Yeah. So I'm just gonna go finish that up and then I'll be right there. And it's like, okay, that's kind of takes you out, you know?
Right.
But they go in, they're like, we're gonna eat some monsters, and there's the warrior dude. I don't know any of their names.
They're not even that complex, friend.
You got warrior, you got
Laios,
wizard girl, she's an elf.
Marciel.
And you have a halfling rogue.
Chilchuck.
And so they're going in, the wizard girl is like, oh, but I don't want to eat monsters. But the warrior, he has always wanted to. Yep. In fact, it seems like he's like, hey, look, it kind of sucks that my sister, who I love dearly, might die, but it's a lovely opportunity to eat some monsters. He's not wildly concerned about his sister for most of these 5 episodes, if I'm leveling with you. Like, if you were to measure the emotional intensity of concern about his sister and desire to eat monsters, one of those dwarfs the other. Yeah. One of those is so monumentally higher than the other.
Yeah, I will say that the one reason they can not like rush down blindly as much as possible is they do clarify that the biology of dragons is that they digest things super slowly and spend most of their time in like a hibernation state. So that's why they're not immediately rushing, because like if it was like, oh, we got to get to her before she dies types of thing, then she would very much there's no fucking shot. They are working under the assumption that she is dead and they need to beat the dragon digestion, which they are under the assumption is fairly slow. So they are not taking their time per se, but they are going down at a consistent pace while doing what they can to scavenge resources and stay alive. It's just that the overall feel of the show is slow, laid back, and comfy to start with, so it definitely feels like they're not as urgent as they could.
Yeah. Well, and especially because it opens up with that moment of panic of,
yes.
oh fuck, we don't have time to prepare or do anything like that. We have to go in now so that we can take our time, be very deliberate and thoughtful. It's like, oh, okay.
Well,
so it's
there's that, and
especially
also
the contrast of them needing to get the fuck in there, get into the dungeon, and then just casually exploring through the dungeon.
Well, they're making progress. They're not exploring. They're going deeper.
Certainly making progress. But that tension is undeniably there.
Yeah, but also, let's be honest, the secondary desire of Laios really just wanting to chow down on some monsters is very much definitely a guiding force there as well.
Yeah.
Like, I will say, as somebody who's read the manga, things get more urgent the farther it goes on, as you might imagine. But, early days, you gotta ease people into the things, and you gotta just show how much of a psychopath that Laios is in a lot of ways.
Honestly, I think I probably could have done without the whole sister being digested thing.
Right.
I probably could have done without that at all, because thus far, I think it has only detracted, because it's like called into question a little bit about like the characters and the pacing, whereas if that wasn't there, those are a couple major critiques that would just be gone, and I don't think I would lose any satisfaction thus far.
Right, but the hard part with that is having the motivation for the other characters to go in and go on this monster eating adventure. That's the big crux of it, because
all right, same case, all right.
Okay.
Same case. But now they're fighting the dragon, and they have super special item. All right, it's sentimental or valuable or extremely important for one of them, or it's how one harnesses their power. Many different routes you can go with there, right?
Right.
They all get teleported out. They desperately still need that item before perhaps another adventuring party gets to it or some shit. So even then, there's a little bit of urgency, but it's not the type that will like bring into question, and it feels more reasonable to be casual about it, because it's the dragon, blah, blah, blah. You have basically all of the ingredients and all of the pros without any of the cons. Because then if it's like, oh, why are they being casual? Aren't they worried about saving the sister? It's like, okay, yeah, they're taking their time. Hopefully they get the MacGuffin.
I mean, I guess, but God, it's harder to do this when you've read the whole manga, isn't it? Because, man, I care about the characters quite a lot, so it's like, I don't know. It's an understandable critique, but it's one that I don't mind so much.
All right, we'll continue on. So further on in episode 1, as they're going down, they kill a mushroom monster, a little scorpion. They want to cook it, and then a dwarf pops out. The dwarf is the absolute expert on making all monster foods. I wouldn't be surprised if they had written the literal book that the warrior has about eating monsters, because the dwarf knows everything about it. He helps out. He makes the dish into a good one. Bada bing, bada boom. Dwarf hears about the red dragon, is like, I've always wanted to eat that. Let's all go together. Team. And they make some more food with some trees. Episode 2, we see that the dwarf disapproves of the modern adventurer diet. They get into a conflict with a basilisk, take its eggs, kill it, cook it up, make some grub, help a poisoned adventurer. The wizard girl, she has a bad idea for mandrakes that is silly, and they're like, oh, that's impossible. And she like kind of sort of uses it, and it goes wrong, but then it kind of goes right. At this point, towards the end of episode 2, I think they recognized that, one, the characters were all huge assholes to the wizard girl. Like, in a way, it wasn't like, oh, friendly camaraderie. It was, oh, they're all being dicks.
Yeah.
And also that the show felt like she was useless, and it was very much like a Sakura situation for these 2 episodes. And there's this weird moment at the end of the second one where it's like, oh, no, we don't think that you're a dumb, useless bitch, despite like reinforcing that for 2 episodes. You're better off later is all, I guess. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't I don't think that fixes it by any means. but at least it shows that they're kind of aware that that I think they were going the wrong direction with that. Because it really was just turning her into a magical Sakura, which is not a good idea. Where it's just like, yeah, she's useless and nags and is wrong all the time. It's like, but
I don't like elf slander. Sorry.
It's not me doing the slandering. It was them doing the slandering. I'm defending this bitch, alright? I'm saying that she has way more potential than what the first episodes did to her.
I just like her a lot.
Well, the first 2 episodes are not the reason why. The first 2 episodes, it's rough. And I think this is a little bit indicative of something with the characters in that it clearly takes some time for them to find their footing with what they're doing with the characters. That's very much what it feels like, because all the characters have moments where they just kind of suck. And not in a like, oh, all characters have flaws, that makes them more compelling. But in a like, okay, asshole, then get the fuck out of here. Like, all have moments where I don't want them to be on my screen, which is not good or intentional. That's doing something wrong. But I think that, I think Dungeon Meshi is kind of aware of that, because with those moments, it'll usually have a brief moment later on where it's like, hey, actually, whoopsie about that, kinda. And it's like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm all for taking accountability and doing that in the show, and I like that can somewhat mirror human dynamics. Very nice to see. Things you don't often see. But it doesn't end up feeling as authentic or human as I would like. It feels like bad initial moments with poorly justified like steps back on those bad moments. So at least they recognize that, at least they fix that, and it seems like they improve a lot of those ingredients and elements. But oh man, I feel like, especially in the adaptation, you could have probably like revised a couple of those. I feel like that might have been wise.
I just think I was enjoying myself too much to really notice anything like that, because I was mostly chuckling at a lot of the moments that happened.
And a lot of the moments are pretty solid moments. And we'll get into like more of the minutia. It's you'll see like this sounds a little overly negative right now, and it will be. I will explain why that is the case in a bit. Mm-hmm. And so after all of this, they end up going and exploring, and the rogue is like he knows about the traps, and so he's avoiding them. But the dwarf, he just steps on all of them, in also kind of like an asshole way, where he's very dismissive of the rogue now. And they have like kind of a moment where it's better once again. But it's like, dwarf, why are you being such an ass? Why can't you be like, oh, like, and he eventually gets to the point where he's like, that's very talented, good shit. But for a hot minute, he's like, fuck it, fuck you. And it's like, what the hell?
I don't think it was meant as like a direct insult to the character himself. It was more like, this guy lives in the dungeon and is pretty apathetic to most things that aren't his direct interest, and that causes some assholery, which also makes the scenes kind of hilarious in my opinion, because I had a lot of fun watching Senshi, that's his name, walking around and just setting off traps while Chilchuck is freaking the fuck out, because genuinely that made me laugh my ass off. It gave me strong D&D vibes, especially when a certain co-host of mine plays D&D in dungeons I'm running.
Oh, certainly. However, if let's use the D&D comparison for both examples I just listed. If you had players who like kept you take someone like the Wizard Girl, and the whole table is constantly belittling them and making them seem useless, and then after that player would justifiably be like, hey, this is bullshit, they're all like, no, actually, like, you're a great member of the team. It's like, all right, then what the fuck were you doing? Like, that wouldn't be good players or story. Likewise, this moment, if a player pulls all of that, that would be a frustrating moment at the table. It would be like, oh, what the fuck are you doing, bud? And so I think that in a lot of ways, Dungeon Meshi, at least in these earlier episodes, is indicative of like a bad D&D. At least in those party dynamics. We get they make some food using the traps, which is nice and creative. We get to episode 3, and episode 3 we get some flashbacks to just like a straight up massacre that happened against some living armor. And this is like a secondary point of tension. This one has pros and cons. This one better than the last, but also I don't think they do it perfectly. And this is the tension between this show has moments of like seinen violence, right? Where it's brutal and bloody and fucked.
It is a seinen show.
That's wild to me. Contrasted with its more like casual slice of life elements, right? And I think like combining the two and putting them together, it fits with that kind of D&D like story they're telling, and it adds an interesting appeal to it. That being said, it's a very hard balance to strike, and I don't think they always succeed. I think that there's quite a few moments where it just feels jarring and or gratuitous, or like they aren't taking things seriously that they should, or some balance of those. I think overall I like them doing that combo, and I think it's an interesting and unique and original twist on things. I just don't think they always stick the landing in that regard. So we have that flashback of the massacre against the living armor, and you have the warrior who's like, I would love to eat that living armor. And the dwarf's like, homie, it's goddamn metal. You can't, you, what? I don't know what it's magic metal. What the, you can't eat it. And it's like, what about the straps? And he's like, don't just stop.
God, it's one of the best jokes in these early episodes, honestly.
It's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. And so they go to the same area that there was the massacre, and now instead of just a couple living armor, they're all living armor. It's an army of living armor. They plan, all right, some of us will distract, another one will go in, kill like whatever magical source or wizard is controlling them. So they send the warrior in, and he sees a glorious pair of living armor, this one highly decorated, and it immediately breaks the warrior's sword, sword he had gotten from previous living armor in that massacre so long ago. And through noticing it, the warrior notices that the living armor has a little spot, an egg on its shield, and he's like, wait a moment. And so he chops off the living armor's head, grabs it, looks at it, pries some of it open, and he realizes that the armor is serving as a shell, and that actually this living armor, it's not magically controlled, it's a mollusk. It's an armor mollusk. And so he handles that situation, he saves the party, and then once they realize that, they're like, well, I mean, now we have to eat the living armor. So they make a handful of meals, including like stir fry from it. And finally, to replace his sword, he gets the sword from the glorious living armor. So it's all fancy and nice, and it has a little mollusk creature in it that's just coming along for the ride now.
Yep.
Pretty solid. Episode 3, I think much stronger than the previous 2. I think it's starting to find its identity a lot more at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 4, we see like the dwarf's home base. He uses dirt golems as like type of garden, which is a fun little idea. And I think now's as good a time as any to talk about what I think this show does the best, and it is all of these little details to make this fantasy world feel lived in. And it does so through the medium of food, right? And cooking and harvesting and all of these different things. By being like, okay, we're going to eat monsters, it then follows through with that idea. It doesn't just say, all right, here's the premise, whatever, and do it mindlessly. Like so many shows with good premises too, where they just ride on their premise, but they don't like explore it meaningfully. No, this one goes all in. It's like, all right, let's talk about the ecosystems. Let's talk about the mechanics of this. Let's talk about the parallels. And I enjoy that. I enjoy the thought and consideration that goes into that, including especially all of the small details that contribute there. I think that's wildly compelling, very interesting, extremely novel for what you tend to get. I always love when things analyze stuff like that, like a little too deeply. There's one channel on YouTube that it kind of hits this similar vein. Let me see if I can remember it. Okay, it's this person Thought Potato on YouTube, and they do
That's
like
a great
cryptid.
fucking name.
It is. They do like cryptid biology, right? And anatomy and stuff like that, where they want to do deep dives on exactly those questions. And it's just fascinating because it's like, all right, you've given me this fantastical idea, and now I'm going to level with that in a very like sincere and mindful way and see what comes up. And you often come up with like pleasantly surprising innovations, like using dirt golems as gardens. Or little details in the show that are also strong, but not even from just the food point of view. But at one point, they're chilling in an alcove in the dungeon, and a different party walks by, and they just give them a polite wave, and it helps. That small gesture makes it feel lived in, right? This is something that a lot of adventures are doing. Not only are the monsters in their own ecosystem, but the explorers and the adventurers, they are also there as well. They are also part of this ecosystem. And I greatly admire both of those aspects of it.
And not to mention all of the people that are actively living in this dungeon as well. From like the ne'er-do-wells and scummy humans to, what happens in the 4th episode with the orc colony.
Yep. And that's where we get to next, where they find a tavern in this dungeon in the 4th episode. They go visit it, there's some like disagreements, and then a bunch of orcs show up, who at first I thought were hobgoblins, because they are very fluffy orcs.
Oh yeah. It's very much a different interpretation of orc, which, you know what, I'm here for.
Yeah, they basically were like, no, but we need the baby orc to be adorable, and it's like, all right, okay, because it's just like a fluffy pig baby.
Yep. Because like it takes the classic elements of orcs being pig-like, and then just kind of bugbears them up a little bit, throws some fluff on them, and it's very good in my opinion.
Yeah, I enjoy it. The orcs arrive, massacre everybody, but they know the dwarf, so they're like, you guys are cool, but we're still gonna have to take you into custody. The orcs have some conflict with the dragon, and so the dwarf is basically able to talk his way out of things with food, and they're like, we'll go handle that dragon for you, just, let us go. And it's like, all right, cool, deal.
And I will say my favorite joke of that episode is just Senshi just shouting about bread. Makes me very happy.
Yeah. The dwarf gets wildly excited about the idea of bread. And then when the big orc is about to take it, and his kid is like, but they made the bread and they don't get to have any. And it's like, buddy, now you're learning about the alienation from your labor. Hell of a thing to learn early, but you're getting there.
Yeah, tough life lessons, kid.
So we get to episode 5, where now we jump to a different adventuring party, right? All with some different personalities going on, and you have this main guy, a dog, Little Red Riding Hood, a couple of others.
Yeah, this might be hard for you to believe, but the dog is apparently a kobold in this setting.
What the fuck are you talking? Oh, wait, because originally, if I remember correctly, let me go into my deep D&D lore.
All right.
Well, like originally, weren't kobolds a little bit like they were more canine-esque, and it was only when people fell in love with the more dragon interpretations that they leaned into it, or something like that.
Yeah, so let me get deep fantasy for you here, Rem.
All right,
because this goes even pre-D&D. So D&D kobolds have always kind of had a lizard-like quality to them, but they were lizards mixed with dogs specifically. Like they have a dog-like nose and like that aspect to them. But the fun fact: kobold and goblin, they mean the exact same fucking thing. Yeah, like etymologically speaking, kobolds and goblins kind of come from the same type of place. Different words for strange little monster creature, and a lot of people have interpreted them as like weird little hairy monstrosities and applied canine aspects to them. But as time went on, people were like, okay, well, we know what a goblin is, but kobold is a different word, so they have to be different, right? And more people had different interpretations of what a kobold was. and eventually the little tiny lizard guys kind of stuck as the more popular interpretations, primarily due to things like D&D, which really emphasized a lot of the lizard trakes, and Pathfinder, which went full lizard with their kobolds. And since then, people are just like, oh yeah, connecting them with dragons specifically is what makes them extra interesting, and not just goblins with scales.
Yeah.
So that's the big difference. But yeah, there are interpretations of kobolds throughout fantasy writing where they can lean a bit canine or can be just simply described as straight up goblins, which I find incredibly fascinating. So I wasn't surprised to see this guy be called a kobold, but it's just like it's not what my heart pictures when I picture a kobold.
Yeah.
That's just a cute little dog boy.
It's not what we're used to anymore.
Yeah.
So this B team party, they go down, they stumble upon some like a small chest of coins and jewels, and then we cut back to our main party.
And I will also say another example of kobolds is like World of Warcraft, where they're like rat men.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So our main party, we cut to them, who then stumble upon the B team, who have been left for dead. And the coins and jewelry are scattered around. And as we see that these coin and jewels, they are all treasure bugs. And the treasure bugs fucked up the B team. The dwarf is like, delicious. So the wizard stuns all of the bugs, and the dwarf cooks them, and then just throws away the real gems, which the rest of the party's like, what the fuck?
Oh, it's more funny than that. He separates the real treasure from the bugs, and is like, all right, these ones are edible, these ones are not, and Chilchuck, the lovely little halfling rogue, just shows up and is like, oh, so should we just throw these away? He's like, oh yeah, you can if you like. And so he throws them away. It's like, after all, you can't eat real treasure after they've been tossed over, and that is genuinely another fucking great joke. That is a great fucking joke, and I love that.
It's pretty good. Then some ghosts show up and attack them, and there's some reminiscing about the cleric sister and stuff like that.
Yep.
And they handle the ghosts by making some holy water, and then this is easily like above and beyond the most creative they've done any of the foods.
I agree.
Because like this is the other ones are fun in their own way, a little bit creative, but pretty straightforward. It's like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. This is the first one that like almost feels like a revelation of sorts, because through making the holy water and the specific ingredients they're adding, referencing lore all of the way. And they've also established that the ghosts and stuff make a very cold touch. So they end up swinging a glass of holy water through all of these ghosts, which then freezes this concoction. And then because of all of the different ingredients it had,
plus the motion,
and the chill, it makes a sorbet. It makes basically some ice cream, it was so clever because of how it added like the different ingredients, the sugar, then the salt, and everything else, and it was like, masterfully done. It would be difficult to have like that high of caliber, but I thought that was sort of a masterful moment.
Yeah, and if you know how ice cream and sorbets are made, like, you can go back and watch that scene and be like, oh shit, yeah, those are kind of all the things you need, just with some extra fantasy elements thrown in.
Yeah, and the fact that they're not like, oh, this is our goal. They set up everything in advance, let it happen, and are like, oh, by the way. And you're like, oh, I see what you did.
Yeah, it's very much a discovery for the characters as much as it is for us.
So overall, I think that, and that's basically how episode 5 ends.
Yeah.
So I do have a lot of genuine critiques about this show. And I think that, especially zoomed out, like as a story and the characters and stuff, I think it does even still leave some to be desired. I think its platonic ideal would be that you really feel the party dynamics, you feel their history together, right? And thus far, I don't really, which is unfortunate. Like there's some bits and pieces kind of there, but it's not nearly as prominent as I would like. But with the actual premise of the show, the idea of the show, and with how thoughtfully all of that is handled, that is both well done and something you just don't really see in any other show like this. And so this is the kind of show that I rate a certain way, but then add a little asterisk. So I'd probably rate this at like 6.5, right? It's getting a favorable review. A little low on the favorable rating, but it's a 6.5 asterisk that is very worth watching because it's doing something different. And I appreciate that, even with the drawbacks.
Well, and I don't even think that drawback is much of a drawback, considering that as the story progresses, they get closer and closer. You find out more about how they care about Fallen, who is the sister. And
yeah, but like 2.5 hours in, I mean,
it's a 24 episode season, so it's a manga that doesn't overstay its welcome either. Rem, it's finished, completely finished now. As of I think last year. Hard to remember. But it only has 94 chapters, which for a fully realized fantasy manga is quite short, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I fucking adore and love it. And one little anecdote I know is that the author of this, let's see, her name is Ryoko Kui. She is quite well known for being a big fantasy nerd. So much so that that after that a lot of the inspiration comes from OG Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 for this series, as well as the fact that there's a rumor that she wanted to wrap up her manga so that she could play Baldur's Gate 3. Which, man, it, I respect. Massive respect for that.
That's pretty good.
And it is, I quite frankly love and adore this manga. And this anime, and it's done by Studio Trigger too, which I was surprised to find out about, because rather than going with a typical Studio Trigger style, they pretty faithfully match the style of the original manga and add a lot of really great scenes and animation in it, and it's hilarious. A lot of the jokes animate super well. Like, even in those first 2 episodes, I was laughing quite a bit myself. Like, I'm gonna say it, the bit with the Mandrake and Marcial accidentally hearing the tail end of the Mandrake scream and being a little stupid for a bit makes me chuckle every goddamn time I hear it.
That's a decent moment just because it leads into like a serious conversation.
Correct. And
it's a nice contrast.
I love and adore it, and it's funny in both the sub and the dub, which, that's always a plus as well. The dub for this is actually pretty solid as well, I will say.
I've been informed that ProZD is the dwarf, which is great.
Yeah. Oh, and he is so fucking good at playing Senshi, especially during the bread scene. Look, there's something really fucking funny about a grown dwarf just shouting bread over and over again. God, I'm making myself chuckle just thinking about it. It just makes me so happy. Look, this is a comfort show for me, Rem, and while I can respect your rating of a 6.5, for me this is basically an 8 out of 10 for me, just because of it hits my fantasy nerd heart in all the right ways. And I love the full story. I love all the character interactions, and let's face it, there's a lot of strong implications of Marcial and Fallen, the sister, once again, since you didn't pay attention to their names, being a bit of a wizardly couple. So, there's a look. I'm just saying, yams are present. And I love and adore that. But yeah, I'm just glad that you don't, your critiques are fair and reasonable, but don't make me want to jump out of a building, because I was a little scared, because I genuinely adored this show and this manga from the get-go.
Yeah, and I think that's a reasonable take. Sometimes it's like, oh, this one is super hyped up, and I end up watching it on the podcast, and I'm like, but why though? We had something similar recently. But something like Dungeon Meshi, I'm like, I get it. It's doing something else. It's doing something differently. And any slight amount of novelty, man, that it goes so far, because we've all been inundated with the same old anime bullshit.
Yep.
We all see the trough of sawdust, all right? We all know we see the exact same hues there.
So you're telling me that of the two quote unquote big anime this season, this one, which look, my bias might be showing because I think I'm one of the few people saying this is one of the big shows of the season. Because everybody seems to be like hardline focused on fucking solo leveling still, and I'm just like, but look at this one. I think this one's much better in my opinion.
I think this one unfortunately does have probably less commercial appeal.
I would buy a Dungeon Meshi cookbook in a heartbeat. like you put that out, gang, and
I'm amazed it doesn't exist already.
Yeah, no, like I same, honestly. Actually, does it? Hold on. I got it. I've got the power of Google on my side. 1 second. Dungeon Meshi cookbook, please. No, it doesn't. Unfortunate. I am sad.
It's gonna be okay, bud.
Like, I mean, it even made eating bugs seem appealing to me, which ain't great because I'll be honest with you, Rem. When I saw the pearl necklace centipede, I nearly passed out a little bit in the back of my mind the first time I saw it. Because I'd be like, because you know me, if I was in a fantasy setting and I found treasure, you know for a fact I'd be gotten by most mimics. And mimics that are bugs?
And plus, who doesn't want to put gold coins or pearls in their mouth? Everybody wants it.
That is true. It's very much like, oh man, that's a shiny thing that it's forbidden candy is what it is right there.
It's true.
You can't eat it because it'll make your tum-tum sick. But in this setting, oh yeah, you might be able to. And they'll be high in protein. And potentially be able to be turned into a lovely sorbet. Which, shit, man. Like, I wanted to eat that sorbet really fucking badly, and I knew everything that was in it. Like, it just looked great. It looked fucking great.
Oh, yeah.
And that is one thing that's great about this show is you get to see all the great fantasy anime food and be like, oh man, this is great, as you open up another top ramen packet. Oh, God. But I highly, this is my anime of the season, Rem. Like,
not surprised at all.
And like it's just so me coded, I feel like. It's a bit weird to describe something as coded for myself, but it's a fantasy show with cooking.
This is just you and Dylan, the show you two would make.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, yeah. I'd be like, gotta do something fun fantasy, and Dylan's be like, well, how about some cooking?
What about cooking?
Yeah. Maybe some drinks. That'd be fun. Because, like, genuinely, the first episode of the podcast he was on an anime where it was all about alcohol, so...
Yep.
So it tracks. But yeah, like, I like the fun fantasy cooking anime. And everybody that I've talked to about it seems to agree. Now, the question is, Remington, what do you think the MAL score for Dungeon Meshi is?
Ooh, alright. Okay, let's see. So, the originality will give it a big boost, but it's a little bit more niche for that reason, so it won't be everybody's cup of tea. I don't know if the critiques I gave, I don't know if anybody will give a single shit about those.
Oh, I don't.
I know you don't. I'm gonna say 8 flat.
An 8 flat?
Yep.
So basically you're just mimicking my score.
Yeah, I think the weeps just totally agree with you. They're right there.
Wow. I don't know whether to be flattered or insulted. Well, Remington, currently on MAL, this only has 19,000 ratings, which really fucking low, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Considering, solo leveling had 76,000. Well, currently at the same time of this recording. It's probably close to like 74,000 back then. But like that's, nearly that's like nearly 4 times. 4 times? 4 times, yeah. Nearly 4 times as
math is complicated.
Hey, gang, I deal with numbers between 1 and 30 mostly. That's D&D, gang. That's my preferred math. But and sometimes 1 to 100, but percentile dice, who uses those? I certainly did in our last session. That'd be ridiculous. With only 19,000 ratings, it is sitting nice and pretty at 7.71.
Oh, a little lower than anticipated.
Which I agree, it's way lower than, in my opinion. Like I'm just like, when I first saw that, I was like, but why?
Yeah, that does surprise me a bit. But I guess as I said, it's probably just it's a bit weirder for a lot of people. Some people may not like the mix, and as I've already admitted, sometimes that mix gets a little bit messy at times. So if you're here for one or the other, then you may be unsatisfied that you don't get enough of either.
Whereas I'm fully satisfied. Oh, and
yeah.
to make myself a little more depressed, the third season of Classroom of the Elite is airing now, if you recall that anime.
Oh, yeah.
The one you really hated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has double the reviews and is sitting at 8.06, which
Yeah, sounds right.
makes me so goddamn angry. It made me so goddamn angry when I saw that. I was like, you sons of bitches. You are sleeping
it should have been this.
It should have been this. Because the other shows that are sitting in the 8 range are all either the new hotness, the second season, or the one exception is a romance anime we might cover in the future because it's very fluffy and shoujo, but has a premise that is not normally done. So we might cover that one in the future, but the point stands is, gang, Dungeon Meshi should be something on your watch list. That's my personal opinion, and definitely not biased at all because I want more good fantasy stuff and more cute elf action.
Yeah.
I should rephrase that.
Send Shaun all of your cute elf action.
Well, no, Rem.
If they're mothers, it's even better.
Rem,
Now that's just going to be subject line elf action with MILF if they're a mother to animeoutofcontext@gmail.com. Shaun will read it that moment. Even if he's at work, he can't help himself. He's gonna get fired one of these days.
Oh God, Rem, that's the worst part. When I'm slacking off at work, I do check the emails. Which has bit me in the ass a couple times, but thankfully my office is a little secluded.
Now, I want all of our lovely listeners, picture the scene, all right? Picture the scene of Shaun getting caught at work, opening up MILF hentai. Now, if that doesn't warm your heart...
Okay, listen, we don't need people sending me fucking elf dojins.
I'm manifesting it.
Look, my love for elves does not automatically mean I need to have horny elf things sent my way.
No, you don't have to. You want.
Don't put words in my mouth. Just because I find elves great and wonderful does not mean I need elf paraphernalia.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see? What do you mean, we'll see?
Oh, it's up to them now.
Oh, thank God our P.O. Box information isn't public. Alright, so, I guess that leaves just one final question, Rem. Any chance you'd want to watch more Dungeon Meshi with me sometime?
I would be down. It's not, urgent, but I would be willing.
Good, because, look, if I can find an excuse to revisit this just so I can talk about it more, you know I'm gonna.
Oh, man.
I have my biases, I understand.
Yep.
And my biases happen to feature good food, good comedy, and cute elf girls. Rem, doesn't it just, make you happy a little bit when...
And Shaun is eager to eat 2 out of 3 of those.
Here I was gonna comment on the cute little ear wiggle that they do sometimes, and no, instead you just make it. Yep. Why you gotta make it horny, my man? Why you gotta make it horny?
Look, make it horny. Recognize the horny that was already there. It's just how it goes.
Look, I know that I live in a world where I can't have a hot elf wife.
Not with that attitude.
If any actual elves want to get in touch. Oh God, we've got to stop. My id is showing, and we do not need that. Wait, is it id or ego? Which is the instinctual one?
Oh, this would be your id hardcore.
Okay, just making sure. I wanted to sound correct with my, silly personality theory thing. Was that a Freud one? That feels like a Freud one.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. So I guess with that in mind, thank you all so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed me gushing over fantasy tropes and respectfully enjoying elves, then please head on over to wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review. They mean the world to us, and we do read every single one. But if that's still not enough for you, you can head on over to twitch.tv/animeoutcontext, where myself, Dylan, and Remington do occasionally play video games very poorly, and those streams should theoretically start up again soon, because myself and Dylan have finally moved into our new place. The important thing right now is just setting up my computer so that I can actually stream again, and hopefully the audio quality on this half of the episode wasn't too terrible. Dylan will yell at me otherwise.
Hell yeah.
But if that is still not enough for you, you can head on over to patreon.com/animeoutofcontext, where you gain access to all kinds of lovely bonus material, including having the opportunity to be thanked live on the podcast. So, Rem, who are we thanking this week?
Well, as always, we would like to send our regards to all of our bland bitch protagonists, as well as our magical girls, who we really appreciate. But moving on, we get to our yandere waifus, who are leaving us for dead to the Red Dragon, only to revive us if we're shit out. Moving on that list, we have... We'll become a poop golem. It'll be great. My name is First Out Bitch. Oops, sorry, I was just overly excited. You're not a bitch. Please don't hurt me. Zombie Stomp. Xanax, Yandere Neko, Why Shaun, when is the Forest Fairy 5 revisit? Well, stuff my ass and call me Cork Borkner. Week 2 of asking for a DBZ review, finally, Shaun. Wash your pits, Shaun. Walk me home gently, Utah #1, Unhinged Prax, Totally God's Angel, Titan CNH, Thopter King, Ruler of Ornai. This week, Shaun takes a trip down Judy Hop's rabbit hole to find Wonderland. The villain behind glasses wants a bridge to revisit. The Susanator, the pocket big hole you need in your pocket. The Danish Viking will conquer the world with Roronoa Zoro as my navigator. That guy who's probably on FBI, CIA, NSA, HSA, and DOD watch lists. Thanks to of the Discord for introducing me to Sergeant Frog. Turban, Super Zoo, Stacy's mom, Stacy, Snaky Pie, Shoujo addict who doesn't need help, just more manga to read and anime to watch. Shaun wants to give Rem a thank and yank. Shaun's absolutely monstrous and girthy MILF destroyer. Shaun, the Shaun block is the best part of the Patreon reads. Shaun, give me a name. Shaun, the Rem block might take over. How do you feel? No, Shaun,
fine.
the Rem block might take over. How do you feel? No, I like my block, so keep singing praises of my depravity and love for Judy. All right, Shaun, if you say so.
I hate this. I hate it here.
Shaun ruined my happy sugar life when I just really, really love the Spoon Man. People love the Spoon Man, Shaun.
God, we didn't mention him once in the actual episode.
Oh, that's fine. He can make a comeback. Hey, the Spoon Man, he's always here. He's always watching, all right? He doesn't need to make his presence known every week. Just know that right behind Shaun as he's recording this whole time has been the Spoon Man, watching.
I genuinely just looked behind myself to make sure Dylan wasn't there.
I think if Dylan was there holding a spoon, you would have shit yourself.
1000%.
You would be like, how did he know? Shaun puts the bar in Capybara Ara. Shaun, I'm a capybara, not a rabbit. Put your pants back on. Shaun had a lass that could go all night, but he got out of breath when he had to blow her up. Shaun Farmer Weep's weekly MILF Docky recommendation till Docky Marchera is Erza Scarlet. Shaun can do these nuts. Seth Senju, Seraphim the Shark plushie, Segoy Kai, that's what she said. Shaun wants to clap Judy Hop's cheeks like Aoi Toto claps his hands. Fuck that.
It's a reference to Jujutsu Kaisen. His power is based on clapping, and he's very sassy about his clapping.
Just like you're sassy about clapping them cheeks. Ross Palmer, Riku the Dawn Hero, Rhiannon Williams, RGB 98, Remington is right. Rem uses the drums of liberation to free all weeps from bad anime. Rem said April Fool's 2 had a musical episode, so here's $10. Rem, please sing Shaun's favorite bedtime song, Doki Doki Dachimatra, Doki Doki Dachimatra, Choki Choki Choka Chakra. Rem is wrong about Cowboy Bebop. Shaun is right about MILFs.
What?
I will also know, so I because I was on Shonen Flop, right? They did make it known just how often they have to read some of the depraved.
Oh, God. David Jordan, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
As they explained to me, they just often have to be like, thanks, Remington, choke me, please, daddy. Oh, Shaun, make me come. And I was just losing my mind.
Oh, God, let me make it up to you guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's genuinely hysterical. Oh, man. All the more reason to do shit like that. Am I right, fellas? All right. Rem doesn't completely hit my favorite shows. Rem came for the weasel words and stayed for the weasel. Rem and Ram are the best waifus, and I will murder all who disagree. Pro tips out of context. Whenever someone says you're incorrect, blame it on the Mandela effect. That's what boomers are doing. Professor Fox, Paco Musico, Other McNutt wants Daddy Dilf's Pickle, No Waifu No Laifu, 907, Nick, Nice Legs Daisy Dukes makes man go do. Necrodancer 1415, My next guess is going to be an unluck one. Miv, but thank my dad, Previsis. I don't know. I'm clueless. Misaka came here to kick ass and eat takoyaki, and she's all out of takoyaki, says Miska as she buys more takoyaki. Mikeka 7 Hierto, Myrmicorn Fire, making fake mal accounts so I can rate Force Fairy 5, 10 out of 10. Macaroni Uchiha, Link Joe Girl, Kylo, King Rich Rock, Cassidy. Just watch SAO Alice Underworld Part 2, Episode 1, yikes, do. Jergidius, Jax, Jamhands, Icon Scout. I will never get more Ace of the Diamond, now I cry. I was hoping Rem would dislike even more than he did to validate my opinion. I, Remington Chase, am once again reminding you, and Shaun thinks you should fuck your sister. Hunter Tane, happy birthday, Cryptid MILF. Hey, happy birthday. Happy 6th anniversary. Democracy is ruled by the people for the people, but the people are...
Well, not a fan of that word, gang. Not a fan of that word, gang.
The people are sometimes pretty stupid, though. And
yeah, but there are
week,
better words to use.
Yeah. And next week we'll properly celebrate our 6th anniversary, which is very exciting. Glenn Michael Dolan, Ginger Weeb, Furble the Merble Durble Shaburble, Fantide, Esteban Espino, Erica McCorkle, edgy awkward girl born and raised in a Roman Catholic household in Castlevania is a work of art. It's Spoon Man. You're damn right, it's Spoon Man. Don't do drugs, do anime titties. Domo, Danielle Riot, Daddy Rum, tell me a bedtime story. Countryfied Goth here to remind you that you just lost the game. Chris Thorstad, Cheese Monkey, Celestial Fox. Cat girls are best girls, so give them cute little paws. Brockhart for G dudes this Friday. 7/8/14 M31 John Hammer versus Heresy Horus. Bridge of the Vengeful Spirit. All right. Big Blue Bear Boy. Bartholomew Flem. Bento Kato, a bi girl seeking tickets to Yam Fest. Bees Sugar. Been a while since I've changed my name on here, but I've got a third 4.0. I can't believe it. I'm also changing my major from funeral. Angel for a good cause. And every day that Raven comes to visit. Amazing Muffin. AJ Tunnels. Aisha Deji. Adele Girl. A Haruhi a day doesn't keep the Daki Mockers away. And Dot. Now we move on to the Boy Wizard tier where everybody will be given a creature to eat. And on that list we have when JoJo's revisit Goth Overlord Dylan, Milf Hunter Shaun, and Dilf Hunter Rem, you are going to eat a giant. Viper, you get to eat a demon. Vincent Calabrese, you are going to eat a reptilian. Just eat an Argonian. Oh, no, I don't know if that's kosher.
It depends on what kind of eating you're doing.
That reminds me, an Angel of Eden says you are interested in men. You are going to eat a zombie. That mouse girl, you get a dire wolf. Silent secondary, a ghost. Ryan and Milena are eagerly waiting for the 300th episode. You are going to get just skeletons.
Oh.
Yep. Rowdio, you get giant spiders. Roscop, you are going to get giant bats. Question time, Shaun. Last time you felt a woman's touch, wink wink.
No comment.
You're going to get a slime. Please consider the Magical Girl musical of Healer Girl. I want to know Rem's opinion. You get a slime lord. Nightshade Blade, you are going to get a ghoul. Somebody else got a zombie, but you specifically get a ghoul.
I mean, they're different.
Sure, one was censored in comics for a while. Let's see. Monogatari has everything you guys said you like in an anime. This week, the heroine is reasonable and rational and finds MC funny. You are going to get an owl bear. Mike says, get in the fucking robot, Rem. You get a cyclops. Miguel De Leon, you are going to eat just a wizard. Latina's 5th handmaid age 4 with Princess Mononoke. I hate nature and nature hates me. You get the big hole. Kugor, you're going to eat an ogre. They're like onions, or so I've heard. I Remington proposed to Shaun, so please marry me. You are going to get a knoll. I finally remembered to change this now.
You don't want to eat knolls, man, like that.
Well,
that's
now what to make it, Spicitis. You are going to get an air genasi. Not very filling. I can't wait to hear those boys talk about farts. You get a water genasi.
Okay.
More acceptable. Hey,
We're
Shaun,
getting way too close to cannibalism, I feel.
or your ass so hard you can't sit for weeks. You get a fire genasi. Good luck. Drew, you said my name thrice. Now you doomed. You're going to get an earth genasi. Good luck. Demon Ray 13, you get a giant ant. Crimson Reapers, just because of the sides, you get a chimera. Carver 271, you get a beholder. Blood Cell, not the protein shake loving gym addicted, always angry white ones, the gamer subs guzzling angels, the red ones. You get a harpy. Beethoven 1201, you're going to get a bandit.
That is just cannibalism.
Anonymous, you get to eat a lich. Anime mashup of the week, Rise of the Shield Psycho 100, you get a Hydra. Animated Z, you are gonna get a basilisk. All other climbed aboard and brought along all his hopes and dreams. You get to eat Cthulhu himself. Second to none, you are gonna eat a griffin. Now we move on to the inappropriate Joey Wheeler tier, where Shaun, as Joey Wheeler, will describe in succulent detail the fine meal you are about to eat, and I'm going to tell you what it's made out of. We start with, Shaun, help me study the reproductive system. You can be my hands-on anatomical model.
So sorry, what am I doing for them? That took me out a little bit. I did a soft
Shaun,
reboot on my.
I need you to be professional. You can't be this horny. You are going to describe in detail a nice succulent meal, all right? And then I'm going to say what it's actually made out of.
Okay, all right. Your nice delicious meal is gonna be a nice spin on a classic Italian carbonara. You know, you got simple ingredients, expertly crafted together to a nice dish, and it's gonna be paired with a nice side of well-seasoned meat. Yeah.
All right, and that is going to be it's gonna be a pasta golem and the Jersey Devil. They are what contributed to that dish.
The Jersey Devil.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a one-time only dish.
Holy shit. I don't know if Jersey Devil steak would even be that good. He looks like a thin, reedy son of a bitch.
It's really about the novelty. Next we got my dear
getting
old
the chance
mom.
to fuck God? Is that?
Exactly. You get it. You understand.
Oh, and I'm now gotta choose one for your mom. Sorry about that transition.
Yeah.
Mom.
That's how it goes.
Let's see. You get you're gonna get a lovely. It's gonna be a bit of a sweet treat for you. You're gonna have a nice, lovely slice of cake with lots of sprinkles. And it's gonna be paired with a nice just a nice milkshake. It's gonna be nice and sweet and hearty, and you're gonna pass the fuck out after eating it because my god, the calories.
All right, so the cake is what's it called? The cake is just a dead Alcremie from Pokemon.
Oh no!
I know it's pretty messed up,
especially because Gigantamax Alcremie is a cake.
Yeah, exactly.
So you Gigantamax it, fucking kill it, and then just take a slice out of it.
The sprinkles are some Togepi shell, and then the milkshake, it was made fresh by Machoke. All right, now we go to Blue Baron 15.
Oh God.
What cuisine do they get?
You know, they're gonna get a nice respectful plate of liver greens served with a nice Chianti.
Perfect. And all of those ingredients are just whatever the fuck we found in Shaun's room. Possibly Shaun.
I beg your pardon?
Thank you all for tuning in. If you want to reach out, whether it's for a comment, question, feedback, or recommendation, you can tweet us at AnimeConPod on Twitter, or send an email over onto animeoutofcontext@gmail.com.
Oh God. Your girlfriend sent me a picture of a sweater she saw while thrifting, saying that she was thinking of me when she saw it, and it's just an Ahegao print sweater.
She knows you so well.
I feel attacked. Also, apparently, the thrift store is trying to sell it for $17 fucking dollars. Yikes.
That ain't a thrift store price.
No, especially not for that monstrosity. Anyways.
Alright, close us out, Shaun.
Shit, yeah, thanks once again for tuning in. We love and appreciate you very, very much. And as always, don't fuck your sister. Hello and welcome to Anime Out of Context. I am sad.
I'm Remington Chase. Picture the scene, alright? Picture the scene of Shaun getting caught at work, opening up Judy Hopps hentai.
I'll tell you right now, this show's giving me wood. Because I find elves great and wonderful means I need elf paraphernalia. My love for elves automatically means I need to have horny elf things sent my way. I want more good fantasy stuff and more cute elf action. I need to have cute elves step on me and give me the high in protein. Pearl necklace,